You're listening to Profit Sharing in the Real World. I'm your host, Danny Murphy, again here with my friend Dick Erickson, the author of Profit Sharing in the Real World, which is available at Amazon.com. Dick, good to see you again.
Good to be here.
So one of the things you found out with profit sharing was that, employees, they didn't need somebody looking over their shoulder to make sure they were doing their job. They looked after each other, and none of them wanted a slacker on their team. Tell me about that.
Well, what happens here is I got in and found this company that had these strong employees. I'm going, what's going on here? And the thing that I noticed, Danny, was how they work together. We would sometimes say they're cross-trained. They didn't necessarily, that wasn't assigned that way, but they knew that times they'd have to step in and help out a guy that was having a bad day for whatever reason. He's not feeling real good, but he's at work, and we got to get the customer out. We promised we'd have him out here at 2:00, so he steps into that job or so. So how they looked after each other, I started seeing was so important, and so when they would see, that something going on between these employees. Now these are employees talking to each other, and the boss making any inserting correction or something. They corrected themselves, each other. Corrected each other, and in such a way that was accepted. Say, listen, you talked to that customer a little harsh a bit ago, or you were kind of loud or something. That isn't how we talk to customers here. You know that, Joe, don't you? Well, Joe's having a bad day. Okay, so Joe gets put into another job. He doesn't have to talk to a customer probably for a bit that day or whatever. Things happen with people, but when people are looking after that, it's amazing what was happening. So I saw that over and over, how they would look after each other and especially anything that was going on. Now, let me tell you one of the real things that came out of this. All of a sudden, we didn't need middle management. They didn't need a boss walking around making sure things are done. They knew what was supposed to be done. In fact, they knew enough that they'd correct each other when it wasn't. And so all of a sudden, and so when people said that profitability that I saw with companies that had great stakeholders, a lot of that had to do with they did not need certain people in the lineup, such as middle management, because it wasn't productive. It was getting produced without that. They had the rules, they were trained, and they went out and did their job.
So there were a lot of payoffs having the profit sharing in place. One of them was that employees were looking for ways to do their job more efficiently, looking for ways to save the company money. Yeah. One of those ways they saved the company money was by recycling the balance weights.
Yes.
They didn't just throw them away. What did they do?
Well, a lot of them are just perfectly, they're just on there, but nothing wrong with the weight. You took it off the old tire, you could reuse that. Used to, we'd throw them away or we'd sell them to the junk man and he'd melt them down or do whatever. So they started finding ways that we could be more efficient. We could use things a second time. Not if it was a problem, they'd throw it away but so things like that. Wheel weights, the other things that comes to mind, stuff for you.
Okay, so something else happened. You had contractors to come in and clean the bathrooms. What happened there, Dick?
Well, here you had bathrooms in, so you kind of, we're paying for that. And all of a sudden, the guys would go back behind that sometimes and find that, first of all, maybe they came in 3 times a week. They started realizing you kind of had to check the bathrooms throughout the day. Someone comes in and something happens or whatever happens, and they would get on top of this because they knew there's nothing more irritating to certain customers than a dirty bathroom. And so staying on top of that, but they took it upon themselves, and none of them that I ever found were above, like, I don't clean bathrooms. No. It's something that was part of our business. And a clean bathroom, we started, so far later in my career with it, that we went and had professionals come in and fix our bathrooms up, especially the ladies' bathroom, to the point that we had more compliments on our bathrooms than we did on other things sometimes. But the employees looked after it.
The employees. And one of them came up with the idea that we don't need a third-party contractor to clean our bathrooms. We can clean the bathrooms during our slack times.
Absolutely. All the way to that, bathrooms, painting, different things you'd use because that comes to my, when I went out west there and I started seeing, I realized one day it was kind of slow and I saw one of the employees over there painting the side of the building or something. I said, is that a contract? No, that's one of our employees. We never pay people to paint our buildings. Why? Because we had people. We picked the time. It was a little slow. We get them fixed. And that put profits to the bottom. So they came up with that. None of them minded it because they knew there was something in it for them to do that.
Now, we've mentioned two things that I'd like to revisit. You mentioned about the balancing weights, recycling. That was an employee idea, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. It was like, why aren't we reusing this? Well, they're not, it's a piece of metal that it goes right back on the rim again. Now, if it's banged up or something, we don't use it. But so we had lots of that we could reuse.
And how much do you think the company saved by reusing those weights annually, approximately?
Well, I would say annually, probably $10,000-$15,000.
A nice piece of change.
Yes.
And the bathrooms, you had what, 11 stores, contractors coming into all of them. How much did it save Sun Tire to change over to having employees clean their own bathrooms?
We pretty much did it within our normal cycle. So anything we're spending with them, if they were charging us $200 a month, or 200 times 12 months, I mean, it's $2,000-$3,000 that you save, boom, per store,
and times say 10, that's $24,000, maybe more.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, so it's a lot of those little things that start happening that we miss from higher up in the management of seeing those things. They're in it in the middle of every day, and when they see there's something there for them to do, how they took care of the equipment lasted longer because they took better care of it. Because if we had to pay more for equipment, they were going to feel it because it cost the company more.
So that's what you get. That's the beauty of profit sharing, when employees get the mentality of a stakeholder, not a shareholder, a stakeholder in the success of the company. Right, Dick?
Exactly. And the customer is the winner. I mean, for sure. And if the customer's winning, your business is going to grow.
Well, it's a great message, Dick. I want to thank you for being here again. As I mentioned, Dick Erickson is the author of Profit Sharing in the Real World, which is available on Amazon.com, as well as his other book, How the Rubber Meets the Road, A Blue-Collar Guide to Success. I want to thank you again for being here, Dick.
That's great.
And thank you, listeners, for listening. Have a good week or a good day.